Goodwill compounds exponentially almost, right? You help one founder, they tell two founders, you help that founder, they tell two. I mean, it just could really expand that way. I mean, do you ever think of it that way?
I do.
Kind of, okay.
Yeah, no, I am intentional about it, but I wasn't always. It wasn't until that happened 8 years ago, I realized that my universal superpower is generosity. And so I never thought about it. I was in my 40s. I never thought about the fact that I am a helper. I'm someone that people see as competent and confident and that they turn to when they need advice about something. It just seemed like something that I just did. Like, I just had experience that other people didn't have. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My parents owned a real estate company, and money and business acumen was ever present at the dinner table every single night. I say I got my MBA at the dinner table, as did my brother, who's a very successful individual contributor. But when all of the weird things started to happen, when I was looking for a VP of sales job after having been let go, and all of a sudden, the next thing I know, everything that was coming my way was screaming consultancy and consultant work. I didn't ignore the universe. I'm a big universe person. Like I say, when the universe speaks, you better listen. It was clear that this was what I was supposed to do, even though this wasn't the path that I had gone down. And then I realized that everything good that was coming my way, at the fire hose level, was because I had always been a generous person. And then I realized that my superpower was generosity. And so now I intentionally look for ways to help people, because I know that I'm impacting people, and I can find 30, busy as I am, and I'm super busy, I still say, I'm looking forward to the day when I can say I have 15 minutes for everybody, but right now I still have 30. And then to further answer your question, I've made a conscious decision to run at this point a lifestyle business and to hire 1099. So I have a part-time assistant who works about 15 to 20 hours a week. I have a gentleman out in Madrid, Spain, who helps me with my LinkedIn. I've outsourced, he helps me connect with people on LinkedIn. Again, I'm not using automation for that either. I have certain people that I believe that I should be connected with, and I've taught him how to find those people, and he spends time every week looking for those. I have a social media, I have a marketing company that helps me with putting things out there, as the book, I'm having a book that's being released in August. And then when I do hiring help for folks, I actually go to Rev Genius. I go to the Rev Genius Slack channel. I tell people I've got if you're in between gigs and you are a high level salesperson, or you've been a sales leader or a recruiter in your past, I've got a 3-week job for you that'll give you some extra cash and make you, feel like you've got some reason to get out of bed every day. So, and I've had nothing but good success by using 1099s.
And so maybe for other solopreneurs out there, or maybe people that are in a similar role, would you recommend going that route as opposed to trying to hire and scale up?
I think it's a very personal decision. I'm part of a group of female sales consultants called Women Sales Pros. So you may know Lori Richardson and Jill Conrath and Trish Bertuzzi. We're all members of that organization. And some people have taken very different paths. I think it's a very personal decision. I'm at a stage, and I'm in a little bit later stage in my life than maybe other entrepreneurs or solopreneurs out there. And I have given consideration. I do think that I could spin off the hiring help into its own division and have full-time help against that. I think there's enough business out there. It's about 40% of my business every year to 50% of helping first-time early stage founders hire and build out their first few sales professionals. But I think it's a very personal decision, and I have toyed with the scaling over and over again. And you know what? I play tennis. I'm picking up golf. I love to travel. I try to spend a month every year outside of the country, living with the locals in an Airbnb. And I lead a blessed life, and I love what I'm doing. And I think I can, sustain what I'm doing financially without having to have full-time employees around me. But I found good people, right? I mean, it goes back to the hiring thing. I have personally hired good people to help me, some of whom have just stayed. I mean, the gentleman who I just gave you said we've got down from 600 down. He was in between. He was somebody that actually had worked for me at the very first SaaS company I worked for. He was been an AE. Then he became the sales manager underneath me. I'd kept track of him all of these years. I knew he was in Portland, Oregon. And I also knew he was between gigs. And when I reached out to him, he said that he was waiting for a PE firm to invest in a company, and he was going to be coming in as their VP of sales once that money got transferred. And I said, how many weeks do you think that's going to take? He said 3 to 4. I said, I got a gig for you. And, and he started, and he ended his gig with me last week and started as the VP of sales on Monday of this week.
No, I think it's super cool. I think you're kind of living the dream of most people that start their own company want to live, right? And
Yep.
you're very intentional about it, which I think is great. So just to kind of close out here, because I know we're almost at time, just a few hypothetical questions, just
Sure.
kind of advice based. So what advice would you give your former self, maybe your 20-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
I think be true to myself. I spend a lot of time thinking about that and following my path. I think again, I think I've always had pretty good instincts, and I think I got out of retail. When I would have stayed in retail longer had the value system issue probably not crept its ugly head. Who knows where that would have been? But I had a strong enough value system. That happened when I was 30. I had a strong enough value system, and I'm a very black and white person. I believe there's right, and I believe that there's wrong, and I don't believe in a lot of gray area in that. And I believe that most people know the difference between right and wrong, and what people should do. And when I was being asked to do things that I knew were wrong, I stepped away. And I think that was I didn't have an opportunity to do that before then, but I was proud of myself for knowing that this was not the right thing for me or for what the company was doing, and that I didn't want to be a part of that. That didn't match my value system. I also took a bad job shortly after that. I took a job with a VC backed CPG company selling holistic dog and cat food. And to this day, I say that is not sex. There's nothing sexy about dog or cat food. And I'd never been in the CPG market, but I wanted to work. I did the same thing I always did. Like the CEO and the COO had just turned around Breyer's ice cream. They were guns for hire for the VC and had come in. So I knew I was going to be working with super smart people. The woman I was going to be reporting to, I very rarely get an opportunity to report to a woman. I knew she was super smart. But 2 months into that gig, I knew, I was like, what have I done? Like, this was not SaaS. This was not sexy. This was not fast paced. This was none of those things. And 10 months later, I was gone. So I would say to people, like, I think if you have a good, you've got to know yourself, right? Self-awareness is really important, and knowing and listening to those things inside. Like, I wasn't sleeping well when I was being asked to do some things at the retail company. And, those were clear signs that, this wasn't working for me. And so you got to be brave enough to get out. And all of my friends who had gone through the same thing, all the other buyer friends that I had, were just like, thought I was crazy. And they thought I was even crazier for getting out of retail. They were like, what are you thinking? Like, you don't know anything but retail. You've been in retail for 8 years. And I'm like, that's not true. I have skills. I just need to find the right company who appreciates what retail taught me over those 8 years. But I don't have to stay in retail.